Quick questions. Mr. Anderson, just really quickly, we talked a little bit earlier, you did, about the joint venture with Viva Airbus, Mexican-based low-cost carrier. The proposed deal, which was reviewed this past April, has faced opposition from labor unions, including the Teamsters, which represent 1,400 Allegiant pilots through Teamsters Local 2118. They're concerned, understandably, that this partnership could lead to U.S. jobs being outsourced to Mexican crews that are undercutting their wages. And so, Mr. Anderson, is Allegiant still pursuing this deal? And if so, can you provide us any assurances that American jobs will be secured? And then do you really commit here that American pilots will not face job losses if the deal is successful?
Thank you, Senator Booker, for the very important question. We are continuing to pursue this deal. We believe that through this joint venture, we will grow jobs, including pilot jobs at Allegiant for American pilots, and we will commit to that within our application. I believe that is laid out as well.
I appreciate it. I'm hoping we can have more of a dialogue on this as this goes forward. Is that okay?
We would welcome that.
Thank you very much. Mr. McGee, my penultimate question goes to you. Could you just be a little bit more specific, because I actually think we can get bipartisan support on this, about what the Trump administration is doing when it comes to rolling back these efforts of the previous administration and what the specific impact it will have on Americans from all across our country?
Absolutely. Thank you, Senator. I'm happy to do that. The bottom line is we don't yet know, because the Trump administration is asking for public comments, et cetera, as part of the rulemaking process. But just the mere fact that these would even be put on the chopping block is extremely disturbing. As you know, we had a very successful FAA reauthorization last year. It was bipartisan support. It was both houses. It was both parties. And we got protections that we had never seen before, including, for the first time, automatic cash refunds. And yet on the DOT list are things like fee transparency, on compensation, on all kinds of things. And so we don't yet know, but it is not a good sign that they're even asked to consider this. It's part of their larger deregulatory effort. And it's just heartbreaking to think what travel will be like. We are talking about not being able to know the full price of your fare. We are talking about not being compensated when there are disruptive flight delays and lengthy flight delays and flight cancellations. As I keep saying, the contracts are written by and for the airlines. When do we get our say? If we don't have federal protection, and particularly with federal preemption that does not allow the states to get involved, who's going to protect the consumers? If we have a DOT secretary who is indifferent to the concerns of passengers, you're pretty much out of luck other than with Congress.
Senator, if I can just interject, I want to say for the record, Airlines for America supports every provision in the FAA reauthorization bill, whether it was family seating, whether it was reimbursement, automatic refunds. We are in support of those provisions.
But, Senator, at the same time, they're saying that Secretary Buttigieg overstepped and expanded on some of these ideas. As one example, the language in FAA reauthorization was flight cancellations. He expanded it to lengthy flight delays. So we are in the same spirit of what Congress asked for.
Okay. I just really want to end with you, Professor. Things gotten a little hairy between us. But I want you to hit us with some bald-faced facts before we go. Could you do me a favor? Like, you have written so extensively. This is such an area of research expertise for you. If you were advising this committee, and you have some great ideas, I just don't know to the realm of what they're possible, but you can see that this is a committee that has a lot of bipartisan feelings about our airlines. If you wanted to give us as a takeaway some specific achievable advice perhaps in this Congress of what this committee can do together around these issues of airline concentration, what would you say?
Well, thank you, Senator. Let me pick a few very specific topics for you. One is, I think, gate competition and hub concentration. And I think we've heard a lot about that today, and there's room for action on that. And I think Senator Hawley and Senator Warren's bill on this would go a great deal in that direction. Second, on the passenger side, the one that you opened with, which is, I think, seat sizes are a thing that people find extremely frustrating all around the country. And I think setting a minimum floor could be a helpful step forward for passengers. And then third, on stability and resilience, I think everyone is frustrated when you have an industry that does extremely well in the good years and then comes running to Congress for taxpayer bailouts and support when times get tough. And so I think requiring airlines to think about planning and being prepared for the crises that are likely to come is something that would be a reasonable thing to do.
And the one thing I often hear in my conversations with some of the airlines is that on the global scale, they're competing against state-sponsored airlines. Do you have any thoughts about that competition that we have globally now as the world becomes a smaller place?
Well, thanks, Senator. I think there's two parts to it. One is sometimes you hear from people that the way to increase competition is to open up for foreign carriers to operate within points in the United States. And I think that's potentially a mistake because they are state-sponsored and might be able to predatory price airlines here. I think the second thing is we need to think about the competition side as well. And a number of people have touched on this as well, but I think there are real questions around partnerships and loyalty programs there too that could have an effect on competition.
Yeah, I really appreciate your work. I appreciate all the witnesses. And to our stand-in chairman, I thank you very much for the latitude.
Absolutely. Thank you. Let me just ask a question about the FAA